Exam dates don't care how many chapters you have left to read. When the countdown hits those final few weeks, the pressure to absorb massive amounts of information sets in. That is exactly when videos promising the top 55 biology questions become incredibly appealing. They offer a seductive shortcut, almost total exam coverage in under 10 minutes. The stakes here are absolute. How you choose to allocate your study hours in the final 30 days usually dictates whether you clear the cutoff or have to wait another year to try again. This brings up a critical decision. Is rote memorizing isolated biology facts the most efficient use of your remaining time, or does it leave a massive blind spot in your preparation? To answer that, we have to look at this quadrant chart. This maps out our return on investment by comparing the time you invest against the actual exam points you yield. If you stick to comprehensive syllabus reading, you land down here in the bottom right. It demands a massive time investment, and the point yield can be highly variable depending on what the examiner chooses to focus on. But if you memorize historically repeated facts, you jump up to the top left quadrant. It takes minimal time with a historically high yield of points. On paper, that ROI looks unbeatable. But when we test this strategy against modern application-based exam patterns, we expose some severe structural fragilities. Let's start with the first category of trivia, hard biological constants. The required input here is brute force memorization. You lock in isolated numbers, like blood pH being exactly 7.4, or a red blood cell living for 120 days. The immediate outcome is highly predictable. If you are taking a Tier 2 or clerical exam that relies on direct one-line questions, you will secure those points in seconds. But there is a heavy trade-off. Memorizing these constants creates a false sense of mastery because you know exactly what the number is, but you have no idea why it matters. You can see the problem in this comparison table. A Level 1 question asks for direct recall of blood pH. A Level 2 question asks what happens to your respiration rate if pH drops to 7.2. In multi-statement scenarios, the rote memorization strategy collapses entirely. That failure happens because isolated facts don't teach biological interconnectedness. You cannot calculate a systemic bodily response if you only memorized a static number. Pure numbers are a high-return investment only if you are absolutely certain the examiner will stick strictly to Level 1 trivia formats. The second category of facts focuses on anatomical identification, knowing the largest gland, the smallest bone, or the heaviest organ. To execute this, you link specific visual or locational associations within the human body to superlative terms. For visual learners, this yields a massive ROI. These identification questions are historically some of the most repeated items in basic biology sections. However, examiners know this pattern. They actively manipulate vocabulary to trap rote learners by utilizing incredibly slight wording changes. Look at these two text boxes. The left prompt asks for the largest organ, while the right adds a single word, largest internal organ. That single word shifts the biological context. The largest organ is the skin. The largest internal organ is the liver. Under strict time limits, the mechanical consequence of falling for this trap is severe. Your brain sees a familiar keyword, assumes you know the answer, and you move too fast to read the context. Rushing through a question because a keyword looks familiar costs you the initial point and incurs an active penalty on your final score. Semantic traps turn high-confidence memorization from a guaranteed point into a guaranteed penalty. The final category involves system associations, memorizing that the kidney purifies blood, or that digestion starts in the mouth. The input here involves linking a single organ directly to a single oversimplified bodily function. This covers roughly 50, but they leave you entirely defenseless against questions asking how. The top 55 question strategy is not inherently good or bad. It is a highly specialized triage tool. To diagnose your own study needs, look at this split-screen scorecard. This strategy is optimal if you are exactly 30 days from your exam, you are taking a Tier 2 or Group D level test, and you have a baseline of 0 biology knowledge. For that specific profile, this method allows a desperate student to secure easy points quickly without drowning in a 1,000-page textbook. But it becomes an active liability if you are aiming for the top percentile, facing analytical exam patterns, or sitting for the UPSC and advanced state commissions. Those advanced exams utilize multi-statement questions, specifically designed to punish surface-level memorization. You cannot guess your way through a multi-statement question. You have to rely on a conceptual framework to systematically eliminate the incorrect options one by one. Relying solely on these curated lists of facts will permanently cap your overall score in those higher-tier environments. Treat high-yield trivia lists strictly as a 10-minute final revision tool to verify your base knowledge. Never treat them as a replacement for comprehensive study material.